Suppose you come up, well, I didn't know what you meant.
Oh. I'm glad you know where all the switches are.
That's probably true.
Yep.
Push your buttons on your microphones. Good evening, everybody. Quorum being present, I'm calling the December 9th meeting of the Wiscasset Planning Board to order. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of 25 November.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Corrections? Commissions? No? All those in favor? Very good. Mike and Dan.
Good afternoon. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Excuse me for being gone. Where are we? Sidewalk was not scheduled yet? At this meeting, so we have an application before us. Of course, I hope, hopefully you brought it with you. If it is thought to be complete, we need to move a motion that is complete. I do not see written answers to the review criteria or request from waivers from any of those. So in my mind, that would make the application not complete. But I am one member of the board.
What part you said? Sorry?
Written answers to the review criteria or a request for a waiver from answering all those questions, which probably in this case is more appropriate. As was done last time with Grenoble, for instance, where it was a previously used site. She correctly wrote out requests for all the waivers that applied.
We waiting on a motion?
Yeah, one way or another, incomplete or complete.
What was the, let's repeat what it is again, so.
Well, I don't see that they have the written answers to the review criteria, which is the numerous pages of the various things you're supposed to go over, or a request to have most of those waived. And again, I think in this particular case, you would prepare the request for a waiver.
Yeah.
But that must, a request for a waiver must be submitted now for this application to be complete, or with the application that's presented.
We did have a paper on it with the answer.
What?
The first paper we had it printed should be on everybody's.
I may not have a full copy of it, because I don't see it. Maybe a photocopy of a yellow paper for one.
No, I think
I've got the waivers, but.
There is a waiver
Requested
request?
some waivers, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Not all of them.
currently I do not have all of the papers.
These are all from
So maybe it's here, I don't know. The only yellow paper, the only people I have like that is your interior design sketch.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'm home free.
Waiver wrong position.
They haven't submitted, they only have the one copy, but, did we all get this? Does everybody remember that? I didn't get it.
He got it, I'm sure that we all got
All right,
Yeah.
we will rule that it was part of a package, and I must.
You requested some waivers, correct?
Yes.
7 and 9 and.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
All right.
Thank you.
Having received a request for waivers, I now believe the application is complete and entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion, the application is complete.
Second?
I second.
Thank you, Lester. Any discussion, further discussion? All those in favor? We shall schedule a Skype site walk at your convenience.
Okay.
You understand well, you can tell us when you're gonna be ready, that the property lines need to be marked in some way that's visible and apparent to the, where it's gonna go on. Who's going on the sidewalk?
I'll go on when they get ready.
When would you like to do it?
We could probably do it within a week.
Week from today, guys? You wanna do it a week from today? That's a Monday? What works for you, Tony?
Can we do afternoon, anytime after 12?
Before sunset.
Like 1 or 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yep.
What did you say? 2? What did you say?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock on Monday?
Monday, yeah. That's the 20,
The 16th.
what's the date of that?
The 16th.
The 16th.
16th.
I will go, but we still need another one.
I can do that one.
Yes.
You can do it? No, I can't do the 16th.
You can? We shall see you at noon on the 16th.
All right, thank you.
We'll have dinner waiting for
Myself,
you.
Lester, okay? And we will hold a public hearing immediately on the 23rd, meeting on the 23rd. Followed by a review of the actual, and hopefully approval of the application.
December 23rd.
Next order of business. We put Christopher on as a holder, he's not here. He has apparently cleared the sewer question and is waiting for a letter from the fire marshal. That's because he was at the ORC meeting. Bonner, you here?
Good evening, Steve Barnwell. Can you hear me if I don't talk through this stand up? Thank you. Thank you for having us here this evening. We're a development group from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where I live. And the principals of the group of JSK Holdings own the school building at 146 Gardner Road, as you know. We've had the building for approximately 3 years in contemplation of ultimately doing some housing and/or medical facility review, and have talked to a variety of different partners, particularly on the medical side, without any real success of interesting any third parties to partner. We're not in that business. My partner, John Williams, resident of Westport, he's in the commercial craft business, owner of vessels and crews. I used to be in the seafood business, and I'm the managing partner because I'm the only guy that's still not working and retired. So I have, I guess, time to do a little bit of footwork. Not to say that 3 years is a fairly slow start. We're excited about the project, and most importantly, the site and the building, being neighbors of the Morris Farm, and what that has to offer in terms of the synergies between what they do and their site and what we hope to be doing as community development. My wife Karen is here. And my partner, I was formerly in the seafood business and a commercial banker overseas for a number of years. And David Lansman, who I'm sure you know, he's here trying to help us along as he's on the board of the Morris Farm, helping us with some of the architectural planning work. If you look at the drawing into it, and Mike Lasso, architect from South Berwick, has done some preliminary work on the site, some layout work for possible apartments, eventual apartments. We decided to go ahead and seek a lot division, 3 different lots, but look at it as an entirety of a subdivision as far as zoning and density requirements for housing. So we anticipate developing the central lot with your approval, of course, into either a workforce housing rental, probably rental and not sale units, somewhere between 36 to 40 units on both legs of the property, and undecided yet what the gymnasium will become. Probably keep it intact as it is right now, maybe being using the kitchen facility behind it or not using it there on, and the two adjacent classrooms would be further developed into housing. There's the possibility, because we're of course uncertain yet of the ultimate uses of the property, but possibly looking into a memory care facility also on not a clinical facility, but not a hospital type facility, residential memory care facility. We have and Mike put forth, we talked about developing the frontal site eventually, no plans initially on the Gardner Road adjacent front site, and the back site with two possible lower hillside development, multi-housing condominium developments in the hill on the backside. But we're really concentrating initially on the core school building and the parking areas around it. So we're really here tonight to introduce the idea, to have any of your questions or comments on the property, see if it fits into the overall commercial ideas or benefits for the community. I understand with the weather, and this is just an informal site discussion tonight, but we stand here ready to answer any questions or take any comments on the development and on the management team behind it. And Mike is here to answer any questions. Certainly, he's done a structural analysis of the building. Initially, when we started about 2.5 years ago, his firm came in and remeasured the building, looked at structural elements of the roof, parking, and the town was kept in good shape. It's in structurally very good shape. So I had to ask any questions or comments. We're just trying to get an initial feedback from you, the community, as to what you would like to see happen on this site. We're open to ideas, of course, and answer any questions you may have on us or on the development potential. Mike, if you want to talk to it, or just wait for say anything further?
Yeah, just in brief terms, I'll bring it up here like this so you can look at it. The site is roughly about 11.5 acres. So each one of these is broken up into, in smaller parcels. This is the center portion being the largest one. That's where the school is located. As Steve said before, we went to the school, looked at the school. It's in great shape. It's ideally suited for either housing, or some sort of residential care, elderly housing. We think it's in a great spot for that. It's organized, and the back portion with the gym and everything else is really great for some ancillary uses, which would be consistent with the uses in front. So we think it's a great location. The courtyard is wonderful, for both either housing and or for residential care. The front portion would be then a business use. It's right on the road. It's ideally suited for that. Water and sewers here, power's here. It's an ideal use for that location. In the back is hillside housing. You build it in the hillside. It has earth berm in the back, and then above that, we're thinking maybe a solar farm. I think the overall sort of concept for the site is to look at the highest and best use as part of it, but also looking at how we can integrate, the new buildings, and the existing buildings to create a holistic approach to site design. Our firm specializes in doing passive house and sustainable buildings, and we think the most sustainable building is obviously a building that's already there. Recycling, reusing it. And then the new buildings would follow suit. They would be both all high performance, all fit within the landscape, and the stormwater management, all those components that go with it. We take it very seriously. So we think it's a great site for this. We think it's a great location, great orientation, and for this building right here, the school building is ideally suited for those types of uses. I guess that's all I gotta say.
So are you the person that bought it originally from the town, the school?
I guess we were the second. There was an option, if I remember correctly, 3 years ago, an option by another party. There was an architect, it might have been out of Belfast, further north, they had done original plans, and they declined to exercise their option, and then John, being a local resident, talked to me. We've been old friends for years.
Right, okay.
And so I guess we're the original.
Right, so
Yeah.
that means they didn't buy it. So
Yeah.
Is it currently for sale still? Was there a for sale sign?
We haven't officially taken it off the market, I should have pulled down the sign tonight, but we've had no real strong interest in the property. A number of people have looked at it. Someone came in with a real low ball offer, which we refused. We had it on the market for, I believe, $790 is, I think, the asset price. We have about $600,000 invested in the property now, both from original products and working capital. And I think the site, we've always thought that the site is really an amazing site, being on city sewer and water, with a perimeter road and the existing parking. But without local partners, without someone coming into us, we're not officially, I'm not certainly officially a landscape developer. I've done some work overseas in banking, but I'm not a developer. So and it's really my burden really to come up with a plan. And so we talked to a lot of people over the last 2.5 years, including medical development, possible drug treatment center, schooling, a whole variety of reasons. And we really have always thought that we develop it of ourselves and looking for over local partners. So we're taking it off the market officially.
Right.
And looking to go forward with the plans.
I think it's great for, I guess, elder care, if that's the right, considering the demographics of the state and all that. It seems like it would be a high need gymnasium and the courtyard and everything. It's just
Yeah,
like a
facilities
great,
there.
great location for that.
Yeah.
Great.
The hard part for me, because initially we had a Signal Group out of real estate, healthy group out of Portland, do a marketing study on Mid-Coast Maine, looking at comparison of other developed. And when that analysis came back, took about a month to do their homework, it really pointed to the need for rental property, not necessarily sales, not high value condos, but more rental marketable workforce housing. And how to determine the need for that, you guys live here, so you know what demand is, you know who's working at that, how it works. But to come up with statistical numbers to show what that demand is not easy. But we looked at other ideas, we played around with it and talked about it. But I think it lends itself, as you say, to development of some sort of housing and the rental preference to sale housing. Sure.
Would you do it in 3 different phases, or would you do everything at once? or-
No, we would, the initial, our idea is to take the school property itself, lot 2, and just develop lot 2. Make sure that the uses, both the parking and egress into the park, would be shared between the 3 lots. Obviously, we're gonna develop it, but we have no plans at this point to do anything either on the front or the back lots.
Have you looked at our zoning and our requirements for the zoning?
I'm sorry?
Have you looked at our zoning and the requirements for our zoning?
Yeah, we have. We have looked at zoning requirements, and I understand it would take, I don't think it really takes, correct me if I'm wrong, a variance in sense in the rural district, it'd be permitted, but we'd have to have either contract zoning for this particular subdivision or something in lieu of that.
It had to be something in lieu. We do not have contract zoning in Wiscasset.
Yeah.
Because I never hold me to my numbers running here at the meeting, but I came up with only a maximum of 11 to 11 and a half units, living units.
Based
Far
on,
less than we have, I mean, planned. I mean, I don't have any problem with the development of this property. I have a problem with it at the moment. If I'm reading it right, you have to have 20,000 square feet per dwelling unit. 11 and a half acres is roughly, no, I did my math wrong, it has to be nearly double that, 20-something units, but. And we don't do that. That's a long-term thing, that has to go to the town and be technically, it's spot zoning.
What, though, do exactly contract zoning, what does that mean exactly?
Contract zoning is just really another name for spot zoning, but the town has an ordinance that allows that you can draw up a specific contract with the developer to essentially rewrite the ordinance for that lot. It's never It's never done on an acre lot, it's done on something size of
Right.
significant value.
40 units. 40 living units,
I think it's a great potential use of the property, but
yeah, fabulous.
for the planning board, though, their hands are behind their backs on that.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Could I ask you where you found that, or where that is in the, you know, do I have the site for that?
Building laws.
Yeah, I was in there.
Rural zones, about 1 acre, but there's sewer and water, which you cut it to 20,000 square feet. Where's it closing the book? Building laws, Article 2. 21, yeah. Yeah, it starts on 21. And the section was the top of page 24. It's section, subsection,
2.6.
we're going by 1, 2.5.1. 20,000 square feet of public water and sewer.
Top of page 24,
Yeah.
section,
It's Article 2, building laws.
yeah,
It's 2.5.1.
thank you.
Now, we can do, compact subdivisions. Or compacted subdivisions, what we call those. Where you can, your actual unit can be smaller, as you would in an apartment anyway, and you have the land, in other words. But the land is there, you're just not assigning it to an individual. Terms not coming. Yeah, resource-based sometimes. But still, it take the total area minus wetlands, probably minus roads at 3, but you have to minus and divide it by 20,000, and that's what you're allowed. So we will need to go to the selectmen for change. Because we can't, that's not a variance we can grant, or the Board of Appeals. It's not in our, either one of them's purview to change that. Yes?
So, you know, the reason why we're here is we knew that there was going to be a conflict between what the zoning ordinance says and redeveloping this property. And, but we feel that, you know, the density and the location and the different uses here, you know, are really kind of consistent with a lot of things the comprehensive plan does say. And for more business and more diversity in the close to the downtown core. I guess the next step we'd be looking for is how would we proceed with the town council? Would we go through I guess we'd have to submit and get not approved, and then have to go and ask for a change of use here, or look at the zoning on the site and be able to modify the zoning? What would be the correct process right now to go through?
I'm not a lawyer. Talk to the town manager, who would then take you through to the select board. But in my guess is there would have to be a town-wide vote to change the zoning law for that lot.
Would that be the case also just for a reuse of the old school building? So the school building to be reused wouldn't be consistent with the codes either, because you really couldn't do 20 apartments in there, or whatever that number would be, because it would make the apartments 2,000 square feet apiece.
It's a lovely apartment, but yeah.
But you know what I'm saying is that, you know, to reuse the existing building alone, you have to be more, you know, realistic toward the apartment sizes and use sizes. And also, what is the overlay for if you had a residential care facility, not apartments, but essentially residential care is not an apartment per se, it's more of a group home.
If you do apartments, you're basically talking a subdivision. It's still apartments, but it's a subdivision. Goes on
So
quasi-
you use each room as being.
If it's a commercial business entity of some kind, that's allowed.
Yeah, so.
So now you don't have the requirement of square footage per person for residential unit.
Right, right. So in any event, no matter what happened with this site here, it would have to be before the council to get a realistic reuse.
No, because if you brought in some sort of elder care residential type facility, it's a commercial or, I think it's allowed, pretty much everything's allowed in our rural zone. There's no, we review it as if you were a steel plant or a Walmart,
Right, the density would be, if you see it.
The density doesn't drop into the equation.
So if you see it as one business as opposed to.
You see it
individual
a business,
units.
now we talk lot coverage, what percentage of your lot is
Right.
impervious surface, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
We're pretty high there already, but you're probably fine.
So so just bear with me there, I'm trying to understand this myself. So if the school were to be redeveloped as an elder care facility, either dementia or group home, that'd be considered one unit right there, for the overall site.
You come in with a site plan
So, and
application.
then everything else then, if we had in the back, 10 condos in the back, that'd be 10. And then the front, we would have one business in front, one building in front. And would that be considered then 12 units right there?
Say it again?
You're on separate lots, so you said, right?
Well, I haven't split them yet.
Well,
But
each
now
lot would
it's
have,
one.
each lot would have one unit on it, basically, and then the back lot would have then, if this were looked as one lot and developed as 3 individual pieces, but considered one lot, would this be then one building, and the front would be a building, and the back you would have then 2 buildings, but each would have the individual condos, but let's say there were 10 back there, one where the central portion of the school is, and one building up in front. So that would then be, that would be then 10 and 1 and 1 would be 12. Would that be 12 units right there on the site? I'm just trying to understand the thinking.
Well, the minute you split say the back off, now you need an acre per house. Per dwelling unit.
Okay, so if we were to.
Sewer and water, you do your own connections, I guess we could drop that down to 20,000 square feet.
So if there were 3 or 4 acres back there, you could get like 8 to 10.
Yeah.
We'd work it out, we can
Yeah.
adjust that. And then in the front, then if let's say there were like 4 small little, 1,000 square foot businesses in front, would that be one building unit, or would that be 4?
Now you're down to 1 unit with a retail space. For instance, Marketplace out here, we deal with that as
Well, the
an
business-
established business, the whole building. We don't ask to see a new
Okay.
tenant come in and change it.
So if we were to sort of, I'm just trying to understand this right here. So if we had the front portion of the site, that could be then one building, which would be one entity. And then that could be, it has to be at least an acre.
Right.
All right, so, and then where the school is, that's one entity, that would have to be at least an acre, more than an acre. And then the back, if we want to have 10 units back there, we need to have then roughly 5 acres back there to get 10 units out of that. Okay, and that makes logical sense.
And when you're really starting to fine tune right now, you can talk in those terms, but I'm pretty sure if I reread the ordinance, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to give people access to those easements have to come out of your gross area.
Sure,
You have to give a net
sure,
area.
obviously, yeah, right. And
Yeah,
then
the
and
net
then
area.
shared uses, correct, easements, right.
Oh, yeah, so to go yours, there's gonna be a mind-boggling cross easements of everybody being able to go
No,
everywhere.
that's done a lot,
No, I mean, I've done it a lot, I've done it before, yeah. It gets done all
Okay,
the time.
I just want to understand that. It makes a lot of sense now. So it does make sense to break it up in that logical sense, as if the uses are consistent with the way the zoning is written. And to have one entity, and then each individual house in the back would then have its own lot, every 20,000 square feet. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you can do it with the thought of the separate apartments. It
Right,
doesn't
and we
sound
can,
like it works at all.
we can probably adjust the lot lines so we have that sort of count back there. And the back area, the hillside housing is anyway, was just a thought. And whatever we can be achieved back there realistically would make sense. And the primary goal is to have the school rehabbed. And what is the most logical use for that? And obviously if we're apartments, if we're 40 apartments, even though they're one owner, it would require 20,000 square feet
Because of the residential living units, so.
And that's the way that's written, and that would require then council, essentially a request for rezoning.
Yeah, rezoning. And I can't tell you how that would fly. I have no idea. I mean, I think it's a great plan. And like you, everyone else to read the other wants X thousands of new employees. They gotta live someplace. And they probably want to live someplace where it's, makes sense that they actually can earn some money to keep it in their pockets, so, affordable housing.
And aren't all the hallways like basically ramps too? There's not a lot of steps. The school hallways, they're sloped, right, all the time? They're not, it's great for another great reason why it's a good thing for.
And all the classrooms have exterior doors. Entrances. So there's potentially at least an apartment could have an exterior. Except the second floor.
Be great to see something happen. It's just sitting there.
You know,
I know you don't do this.
I mean, that's in your favor. We all, I think the entire town would like to see something happen there.
Right,
That looks
you know, it
decent.
does limit the uses if it's an apartment, where the exterior doors would be a good thing if we're like a senior housing. I guess the definition of what senior housing is needs to be understood, as opposed to, residential care. Because senior housing can also be seen as apartments too, where everybody has their own individual entrance and exit, but they have some shared common spaces. So the definition, there's no definitions in there, so I kind of look for the definitions of things. So I'm trying to understand how uses are defined within the ordinance. And if you were to define, for example, senior housing, there's like layers of that. You can have the dependent living. If it's an independent living, senior housing, which would share, let's say, a shared common space, maybe shared kitchen facility, but they'd have independently living, would that be seen as the same way as one entity because of one owner, as opposed to being seen as individual apartments, which you would have then for, let's say, an affordable housing complex?
I don't have the answer. I'd say see your attorney, and then we'd probably end up where we brought in, so,
That's why I'm asking the question.
we need the town attorney to make a decision for us.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd ask the question because, there were definitions, and we're trying to understand what the definitions of certain uses are. And this would really help us then be able to move forward. Okay.
Do you have a question?
I have a comment when we're finished, is all.
All right.
Anybody else up there? The audience, then? Go ahead.
I'm not
Oh,
the
yeah,
audience.
no.
Actually, I'm not the audience. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. My name's John Williams. I live down in West Forty. I'm the one that talked Steve into going into this project. So I found out about the school. It was on the market for a long time. And I think it's a good thing for the community. And that's why I basically got Steve excited about it and two other good friends of mine, and we chipped in and bought the place. And excuse my naivety on the board and all of these regulations, but my thought was, the town's using it for a couple hundred kids every single day, flushing toilets and everything else. We're probably gonna have a fair amount of leeway what we wanna do with it. I mean, we don't wanna come in here and wreak havoc or anything. And I think that, both of my sons went to this school, and Maine Yankee was running then, so that was a good thing. But I guess just my only comment on observing Steve as the managing partner, and just as passive investor for the most part. But two things that are a little problematic as an investor is, one is, the mind-boggling amount of work we're going to have to do to just get easements through the place before we even make this investment, which scares me a little bit. And then, I've brought lawyers a lot of times to meetings at a lot of money. And so I would just like to hope that, looking at you, the board, and I am local, that I could at least, get some recommendations. This is what we can do, this is what we can't do, this is what we'll support, this is what we won't support, before I have to go and hire a Portland law firm. And that's, it's kind of makes our process going into this a little bit easier. on what we're going to, we really would love to see a receptive board. We want to bring something good to this community. And getting the support, just the moral support from the board head out of the gate would be nice. Thank you.
I think I can speak for everybody, as I've already said. I think this is an exciting project. I think we've kind of hashed out what you can do without having to change the town's zoning. You can split it, you can have commercial properties. As far as easements, that's a paper exercise from a survey that probably exists already. Once you know where you want to go, you don't have your lot lines, for instance, but all you're doing is granting cross rights from one person to one entity to another as you split the properties off. They're going to be on the roads. You got a little confused on somewhere, but down at the back end, I don't think that road's there yet. I think it ends. But I know I would be excited. We can't tell you yes or no. We just can't do that. We don't have an actual application for it. We've brought up, I think, our concerns, basically density caused by residential requirement, of which we have no control. And I don't know how other towns do it. I mean, this has some elements the same, say, as over what Miles has done on that whole peninsula. Obviously, they're not. They don't have 10,000 square feet or even 20,000 square feet for living space. So I don't know how they're doing it. I'm not sure there's a difference between condominium ownership and rental as far as our approval process goes and what's space required. I really don't think so. We do not have a separate condominium law. So I can't advise you at all on that. But you could have, as you said, commercial space. Council can tell you to find a way to have living units in there that don't count as residential living units. You just say it's something of a loop. And yeah, you could have apartments in there essentially. I mean, back to apartments, but that's a legal question, that's not mine. Because we would turn around and say, well, that's your attorney's opinion. Just send it to their town opinion, our town attorney, and say, you agree? And we have to pay we as town have to pay our lawyers fees to the same answer. Anybody else?
How did they ever get Page Avenue when all over the properties? They didn't have much land there.
Yeah, that was before my time. I don't know how big those lots are.
I don't
But
know.
it's on town sewer and water, so that's 20,000 square feet. I don't know how big the current property was.
They got all apartments in there, they got much land in there.
Yeah. It would be the first thing that in town that doesn't meet, so we say, current ordinances. Think of a building permit that shouldn't have been issued, that was, by us, because it was shown as an issue.
They should talk to the town manager then.
But if they want to change, see any hope, if you won't even want to, test the waters, talk to the town manager. And he'll either set you up to talk to a select board like this, or tell you, maybe he'll tell you it's not going to happen, but I would hope that at least listen.
Yeah, I can't imagine they don't want to see something happen there.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to see something happen,
But,
I think. Who knows, though.
We could use the tax revenue.
yeah. So, like I said, I don't know how towns that do have, that are, say, somewhat similar to us in Lincoln County at least, that may have this kind of density, how they do it. Probably wrong, but there used to be a state requirement, I thought 10,000 square feet. But yes.
In my town in South Berwick, we had a similar issue to this. We had a 28-unit elderly housing project come in. It was independent living. And within the zoning ordinance, they had to also have something like 10,000 square foot per unit. Town water and sewer, and everyone in town, kind of like this right here. And they found out that just by changing a couple of words in the zoning ordinance, it allowed that to happen. Because like a lot of towns, there just wasn't enough good senior housing because folks were living in larger homes and then moving out and moving somewhere else. They weren't in town. So the goal was to keep folks in town because they're right next to the libraries, close to the schools, you know, it was a pretty good thing. So there's always, you know, somewhere that says, well, we can do that. We actually worked with our regional planning commission, and they're the ones that found that and allowed that to happen. And it's been a good thing ever since then. And so anyway, maybe that's something that we can also look into.
Yeah, we can ask our Lincoln County Regional Planning. Are we getting any time from them? I know we were once upon
I don't know,
a
the new planner.
Yeah, that one quit the day she started or something.
No, we got a new one
They
elsewhere.
got a new one, I don't know. Yeah, I can see about that.
Assessing all the ramps the other day, all the ramps, yeah, she's,
I mean, if we could find a simple, we're already heading in for some ordinance changes in June, we'll go to- if that's all it would take.
Well,
Great.
I think, so I guess the logical next step would be then to talk to the town manager and then look at the ordinance carefully and understand it better, okay? And maybe get some definitions and then we'll be back,
I mean,
okay?
the number one, as far as I know, the number one reuse of schools is housing.
Right.
Whether it's elderly or workforce, but usually elderly, but, or very, I think my grammar school in Portland, I think is upscale condos, but, you know. But,
I would think the elderly would be the obvious go around here. But
yeah, any kind of you're right, we did not find those in our ordinances, so we need help in getting there. We need a hook we can hang our hat on from somebody
Well,
to allow.
you could create a definition for that, since there really isn't a definition section in there that specifically speaks to that. And that's what we did in our town. We essentially said we need a definition for this use, and then allowed that to happen. That was the method.
Three of us sitting here on the ordinance review committee, but we work at the pleasure of the select board. So.
Understood.
Anybody else? John?
good luck.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. That's right. I hope we mark your approval very soon. I think I very nice.
Other business.
Other business. The only thing I know is that we will have, should have several applications, well, Christian Wilbur will be back for the meeting on the 23rd. We're gonna meet on the week, the 23rd next week. We should have, an application for property down at where Pepe's Flowers used to be. Chandra or something. Somebody else said you want to know if they could come in. Oh, property on Fort Hill Street. Kind of after the fact. There's 3 units.
Hi there. You need a motion?
I'll tell you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn this meeting.
Any discussion? No, that's not discussion. All those in favor?
All right, we'll have that chicken ready. Good to see you, Carl. Oh, absolutely, we'll have a mug with all your names on. Wings and burgers.
I don't know about that. Somebody sees that, they might put some in my mouth.
We'll keep it behind the